Okay, so welcome to Vibe, everyone. This is Vibe Book and Music Shop. We're in Mui Wo, we're on Lantau Island, and we're in Hong Kong. Today's today's presentation is going out live on Facebook globally, and we'll be filming from two cameras. So there's a camera here and a camera here this way. So can I just please ask to don't stand up during the next hour, if you can do that. All right. So today I'm presenting. Jane Houng is here. Jane is going to be talking about her book, Under Lion Rock, for the first sort of 20 minutes or so. She's then going to be talking about a very worthy charity, Becky's Button. And then for the final sort of 20 minutes, we'll do questions. So I may pop back up for that, and that'll be in a short while. So, okay, all right. So hand over to Jane Houng. Yes.
Thank you very much indeed. Oh, thank you so much. And I'd like to start saying a very big thank you to Gary for organising this. Here he is, keeping a bookshop alive and open in Mui Wo. So glad that you're here supporting him as well as me. I know that I want to talk about my book first, my latest book, Under Lion Rock. And probably the Chinese people in this audience know that that Lion Rock has a special significance. It means resilience and perseverance to Hong Kong people, right? I'm looking for some Chinese faces, right? The practical spirit of Hong Kongers, especially immigrants who came over. And in this book, Under Lion Rock, the song sung by Lorman Tam, I should say, was a big hit. It was part of a TV series in the 1970s, and then the Hong Kong government used it at the time of SARS in 2003 to lift people's spirits up. They used it again in 2013, and dare I say it, it was also sung a bit in the protests in 2019. So it's a very emotive song, and the reason I chose it is that my main character, Joey, a 13-year-old ordinary boy from a humble background, immigrant, has an extraordinary talent for music and singing in particular. And he goes to a concert, a canto pop concert, and his life is transformed, basically. So it's a feel-good book. It's a book for teenagers to identify what really turns them on. What are they passionate about? What are they good at? And suggest that they lead their lives that way rather than following the more normative paths, let's say, of 1970s Hong Kong, because that's when I chose to set this book. I wasn't here then, I didn't come till the 1980s, but I know people who were, and I know it was a time of great dynamism. There were hundreds of thousands of immigrants coming in from China and from Southeast Asia. The trading was brisk. There was a real feel-good factor in the air. So maybe a hint of nostalgia for writing what I did, but you never know as a writer why you write what you do. I think I'll just do a quick reading before I don't say very much more. So, historical fiction. Here's Joey. Chapter 1, A Pocket or Three. That evening after school, Joey picked pockets with Todd and Shrimp. They met under the chink-chink of multicoloured lights strung high along the embankment of Macau Ferry's night market. With a fresh breeze blowing from the South China Sea, it was cool for October. Business at the makeshift stalls was brisk, with buyers sifting trinket-laden trays, sellers spewing prices, and coolies in conical hats carrying baskets on shoulder poles, crying "Zep, zep." Joey had already picked a few pockets. He knew it was wrong to steal, but what else could he do if his stepfather gave him so little pocket money? Besides, it was an opportunity to meet up with his old school friends. Fingering the coins in his blazer pocket, he calculated how many fish balls he could buy. 10 cents a skewer, 5 balls a stick. That meant at least 20. There, at a candy stall on the edge of the market, was another target. A white boy with orange hair, about the same height as Joey, but double the girth. Balancing an interesting-looking object between his knees, he was biting into an explosion of pink candy floss. Joey hummed a snatch of his victory song in anticipation of an easy win. But Todd and Shrimp had noticed him too. Todd strode ahead, Shrimp trailing him. Joey quickened his pace. "Watch where you're going!" shouted a swerving cyclist. "Squawk, squawk," squawked the chicken, strung upside down from the handlebars. The schoolboy, alerted, shoved the case under his arm and made a break for it. But Todd caught up with him, pinning him to the back of the stall. "Okay, okay," said the boy. His voice had broken. "What do you want?" Beads of sweat shone on his forehead. Joey held him by the collar while Todd rummaged through his blazer. "My driver's coming," said the boy, and Joey understood. This rich Guizai had a chauffeur. "Gimme the gun," said Shrimp in Cantonese, tugging at the case. The boy shrugged his shoulders, unable to understand. "I saw him first," Todd said, elbowing Shrimp out of the way. "It's mine." "Bang, bang, you wouldn't even know how to shoot one," said Shrimp. "That's no gun," said the boy. The case was black, fiberglass, tapered at one end. Why would the boy be carrying a gun? Joey guessed it was a musical instrument. So, music is a constant theme of this book. It permeates the book. Why? Because, in brief, I'm an ex-musician, or I am a musician, whatever. Music has always been part of my life. I went to a specialist music school from the age of 12. I created a fictional school called Sassoon School of Music for the sake of this book, and I could draw on a lot of memories, often very happy, funny ones, of my secondary school days in this specialist music school. I dedicated it to my parents. Both my parents were professional musicians, and I firmly believe in the power of music to transform lives, and I'm so happy to see some musicians here in the audience. They're not nodding their heads, but yeah, but you know. Yeah, Joey loves music. He accidentally gets into a canto pop show in City Hall, which is still standing, of course, and he meets Roman Tam. He listens to that sound, and he's just fascinated by it. He can't get enough of it. He can remember it. He dreams of it. His imagination is awakened, basically, from this epiphanal moment of listening to Underline Rock. But anyway, I think time goes very fast, yes. So I'm just going to give you a very quick sort of synopsis of what happened to try to entice you to read it. I did do a lot of research about Hong Kong in the 1970s, and I've used many places that still exist, but also I've used places that have long gone, like Lai Chi Kok Amusement Park or Blake Pier, Queen's Pier, and also characters. I mean, Queen Elizabeth II came here in 1975. The Aberdeen Typhoon Shelter was still here. It was there. It's still here, but it's changed. But I'm sure people who have lived in Hong Kong for many decades, like I have, will remember what it used to look like with those tanker people and that sort of that resettlement into Aberdeen. So back to Joey. So he has a difficult family situation. His stepfather physically and mentally abuses him. The stepfather is totally against the idea of him showing an interest in music. And it gets to the stage where Joey runs away from home. He's 13, he's had enough. And he goes to see his mother's sister, who has a fruit stall in Yamade wholesale fruit market, which is still going strong. Such fun to go to these places and then use your imagination to reenact the story. So here we are. Joey's there, and he's still going to school, but he's making a bit of money selling oranges. Chapter 9, The Orange King. And by the way, Auntie Tam is his auntie, Uncle Bo is his auntie's husband, and Sparky is a little dog that's befriended Joey, and actually has a key way for me as a writer to get him to Sassoon School of Music, where I want him to end up. A few spoilers here. But anyway, The Orange King. When Joey was small, his mama used to sing an old soldier's song to rouse him. Da tian bu liang, cui zhu qi chuan, wo lai kan zhu, zhu zai chuan shang. Living at the fruit market, Joey never needed waking up, because before dawn he'd be woken by the grinding of a crane delivering a mountain of fruit for Auntie Tam and Uncle Bo. The oranges came from all over the world and were of varying quality. Before catching a bus to school, Joey would pick out and dispose of the overripe, squashed, mottled, freckled, mouldy or rotten ones. Meanwhile, Auntie Tam would be dividing the saleable ones into two classes, rolling the dark-peeled, heavy and shiny ones into a box on her right, and the thick-peeled, lightweight or pockmarked into a box on her left. These were the ones that poorer people could afford. Uncle Bo would busy himself assembling the metal trellis of their stall. Once the tarpaulin sheets completely covered their space, selling could begin, and the first customers would already be buying by the time Joey left for school. "Oranges for sale! Who'll come and buy my beautiful oranges?" Auntie Tam would be calling. 4 for 10 cents, 6 for 5. And Uncle Bo would slosh through the coins in the plastic bucket that swung from a pole to find change. By the time Joey got back from school, the trellis would have been dismantled, and Uncle Bo would be sliding the beads of his abacus to calculate the day's earnings while Auntie Tam washed vegetables. That's when Joey would let Sparky off his lead and walk him to the nearest char-siu stall, where the butcher always had some unsold grizzly pork scraps. So, with a bit of toing and froing, Sparky leads him to this music school. I've set it in Hereford Road in Kowloon Tong. I chose there because from there you can get a very good view of Lion Rock and where the squatter village used to be. And actually in my story, Joey and his mother came over the border and lived there for a while. So in Joey's mind, it is a place of great significance, and he has very good time. He remembers the community and the goodwill, basically, of very, very poor people, but people really sticking together, taking care of each other, working hard. Have to read more to discover exactly why, but I want to read to you the time when he gets into the school. He sneaks in with some other people and he hears a Western orchestra playing for the first time. It's the first time he's heard these sounds. It was a large room with a stage, much smaller than City Hall, but just as exciting. Maestro was standing on a podium, waving a white stick. And children, lots of children, were playing musical instruments together. In the semi-darkness, Joey spotted the girl who'd stroked Sparky in the lift. She was sitting 3 rows back in a group of violinists. Opposite her, children were playing bigger violins, gripping them between their legs. Behind them, giant violins which children had to stand to play. Behind the string section, others were blowing instruments, wooden ones, silver ones, black ones that needed a lot of puff, and a long brown one that sounded like a cruise ship hooting in harbour fog. But how sweetly the instruments sang together. It seemed the musical sounds were woven by the waving of Maestro's stick, whipping them into wild, free, amorphous shapes. Joey would like to hide in one of the huge double bass cases lined up along the back of the stage and listen forever. Crash! A boy at the back of the stage banged 2 flattened woks together. Beside the cymbal player, another banged drums. Bang, bang. The regular, insistent sound triggered a memory of a sunny day on the beach when Joey was a baby. He was sitting on the sand between his mama and his papa. Joey couldn't be sure, but he was definitely sitting on his mama's lap, eating ice cream, because he could feel the sand sprinkled on her skirt and the coldness of the ice cream on his lips. Bang, bang! A man was beating a drum from a boat and it was approaching the shore. So I just have to stop.
The camera's
Yeah.
obscuring the camera. It's live.
Yeah.
Jane, just press the button. The presentation. Next one.
Ah, the book cover. There you are. That's what I'm talking about. Sorry?
Book cover's on the next one. Press again. That's it.
Aha. Yes, there it is. Hong Kong in the 1970s. All right, well, time is going fast. So basically, then Joey sees the percussion instruments and he sees the brass instruments, and then he sees the guy he met at the beginning of the book, the white guy with the red hair, with the orange hair. And there's a few subplots as they realise that they're in the same school together, and with a variety of performances and shenanigans in and outside the school, they reach the end of the book when I have a fundraising concert, because Sassoon School of Music is a charitable school. It's for underprivileged children who can't afford a specialist music education. Why Sassoon? Because it was set up by Iraqi Jews who, as I'm sure many of you know, were very, very generous donors in Hong Kong. And I have the main musicians as white Jews, white Russian Jews. So they have come from Shanghai, like the Iraqi Jews, but a little bit later, after the Second World War. They've come and they've established a new life with difficulty. All right? They also were in the squatter village for a while. But they have talent. Maestro is a world-class conductor, and his daughter is a very accomplished pianist. So, is the school going to close? The landlord is asking for more rent. The instrument player wants his instruments back. So there's a fundraising concert. This is a very short piece about the dress rehearsal, the rehearsal before the big concert. And Joey doesn't know whether Roman Tam is going to come. And if Roman Tam's there, then wow, there'll be lots of publicity and lots of donations and the school will continue. But anyway, he's not at his best at this moment.
What is that? Something called bone beating.
The dress rehearsal got underway. "Order!" cried Maestro, tapping his baton on the podium. First up was Bach. Joey hunched into a seat next to Ray's violin case, halfway down the aisles. His friend's bow jittered across the strings a few times, but the bit he'd practiced a million times went well. And then he looked much more relaxed, playing sweetly in the second movement and defiant as a kung fu fighter in the third. "Was I okay?" Ray was breathing fast. Hugging his violin, he dusted its neck, wrapped it in silk, and placed it lovingly inside the velvet casing. "Probably better than me," answered Joey. Mr. Waters was approaching him. That's the singing teacher. He accompanied Joey to the stage. "Pooh! What's that smell?" he said, blocking his nostrils. Joey wondered what he was talking about. "Joey, what did you have for breakfast?" "Chive dumplings, sir." Mr. Waters covered his nose with a handkerchief. "Not before a performance, please." "Ha!" Joey exhaled loudly. "That's not funny," said Mr. Waters. Maestro was walking to the podium after writing something in the horn parts. Joey cleared his throat because there was a frog in it. Then he opened his mouth to do a warm-up exercise, and only a croak came out. Upturned trees in a typhoon, tower blocks crashing down, cars smashing into shops. Without a voice, his path to the future was rubble and wreckage. He imagined people clutching their ears and laughing uncontrollably at the concert. Why on earth did his voice feel as fragile as an eggshell porcelain bowl today, as if with one crack it could splinter into a million shards? So had already been banned from singing in the choir because his voice had broken. Had Joey's too? "Don't be nervous," said Maestro, patting him on the shoulder. "Yes, sir," said Joey. But then, when he sang, from the back of the hall, Mr. Waters was calling, "It's not carrying!" And try as he might, Joey could not project his voice. He managed to reach the end, but there were no cheers or shuffling of feet. Billy blew a raspberry on his trumpet. Mr. Waters came to the stage, and Joey overheard him telling Maestro that he'd told Joey to save his voice for the real performance. Maestro took off his glasses and gave Joey a searching look. "Here's hoping you pull out all the stops tonight," he said, tapping his baton against the podium for the next piece. Joey was furious with himself. He'd sung as flat as a peeper duck hanging in the window of a cooked food stall. He went to the toilets and locked himself inside a cubicle. He rarely cried. He'd wept at his papa's funeral. He'd sobbed as if there were no tomorrow when a sparrow had smashed into his bedroom window and fallen, stunned, onto the balcony. One broken wing was spread like a deck of stepfather's cards. Joey had cupped it in the palm of his hand for hours, stroked its soft feathers, felt the beat of its little heart, but it had died anyway. Okay, end of Underlying Rock. I hope it drew the interest of some people. It is a very specialist theme, music, classical music, the joy of being a musician and the fun that you can have making music together. You need to sit down. So it's quite a natural switch for me to start talking about another very different theme because I was about 5/6 through this book when I got the news that the phone call that my daughter had been killed. And I remember putting it in the shelf, putting it in the drawer and thinking, well, that's it, that's that. And I didn't look at it for years. For one reason or another. But last year, I thought, well, damn it, it's nearly finished. I should have a go. I should have a go at finishing it. So here it is. My life has moved on a different direction. I hope I'll be a writer again one day. Well, I have been a bit on the side, but the news that my daughter, I don't know whether all of you know, but my daughter was killed in Lebanon by a taxi driver in 2017, December 2017. And she was actually murdered. She was raped and murdered, or murdered or raped, who knows. And the perpetrator is now in a maximum security jail in Beirut, serving a life sentence with capital punishment. So my life took a very different trajectory, let's say. But one thing I that came to me really early on, well, yeah, two things really. The first thing was, okay, I'm a bereaved mother now, but there were 80,000 other sexual violence cases in that year, actually, as it went, on and on and on. So it's not just me, why me, why not me? That was one thought that, that I had very early on. And the second one is that I just thought, well, why wasn't Becky wearing some kind of panic alarm? And I won't go into details because, okay, this device might have saved her life, given what happened, where, when, all these things. But it's certainly not the fail-safe for everyone. 80% of, this is a very general statistic, but 80% of gender-based violence cases are domestic, intimate partners. My daughter's case was very unusual. So, no need to block your ears, but this is quite loud. I'll just give you a quick demo. So this is Becky's button. It's light, it's very small, it's recyclable plastic. Very simple, because the original idea was to distribute it to as many women around the world, big hopes, who couldn't afford to buy one on the internet, basically, because there are tens of them on the internet. All right, and there's no GPS, because in refugee camps and war zones, there's no GPS in the third world. So it was so it's a wearable, and the wearer just has to press this. And that will ring for an hour and a half if it's not depressed. I just pressed it there for 3 seconds and then it went off. So a really simple device, but it could give people who are being attacked a few seconds just to alarm the person. It's all very close, right? And to run and report. And actually I do have one documented case of it saving, goodness knows it. It avoided a gang rape in Greece, which is the country where I first pioneered this. Because I have been spending most of my time with charitable efforts. One was in Greece, a charity called Becky's Bathhouse, because my daughter was working as a humanitarian worker in the British Embassy, and she was working with refugees in Lebanon and poor locals, like the driver. So I thought, okay, Syrian refugees. I found this place in Greece. That was the time, you probably remember, there were a lot of ghastly photos of babies being washed up into the shore. That was on Lesbos, where this charity was. So basically, it was renamed Becky's Bathhouse, and it started in 2018, and it's still going, and it's busier than ever. We get over 100 women and children a day going there to shower and to wash their clothes. All right. I handed it over to another bigger charity because that was for my daughter. She always wanted to help people. She always wanted to do humanitarian work. So that, in my mind, satisfied me that I could run that for about 5 years. And yeah, now it's year 6. So I did that. And then I've also set up a charity in America called Rebecca Dykes Writers. And because I got an MFA in creative writing for children at the University of Vermont, Vermont College of Fine Arts, I should say. And a lot of my American friends reached out because they knew about it, the news about my daughter went worldwide. So that's still going, and I will be going in April, and the focus of the workshops that we do is to explore how we can tell children very serious themes in a way that doesn't freak them out forever, basically. You know, what can we do to little boys reading a picture book or a junior fiction book to kind of instill this thought, you know, women are okay, and I like my mum, and, you know, I respect women. It's hard. It's really, really hard to tell kids of all the atrocious things that happen in our world in a way that doesn't traumatize them forever. So that's going on. But I'm putting nearly all my effort personally now on Becky's button. So let me tell you about Becky's button. Here I am in Beirut, Lebanon, of course. And because Becky was a diplomat, and because the case was such an unusual one, and it was committed by a local, everybody knows the case. It's a very, very well known. It was so shocking, so unusual. So I get tremendous support. So here I am, moved a little bit away from distributing Becky's buttons to refugee camps. That's complicated. Still want to do that, but it's complex. Especially now there's a war there, you know. But, well, not there, but 150 miles away. So in 2023, we started focusing more on building awareness, you know, building awareness of gender-based violence. What is gender-based violence? Actually, what's sexual harassment? Is it a criminal offence? Is it not? You know, Lebanon is a very patriarchal society. It's a fascinating country for anyone. Has anyone ever been? I mean, it's... so many of the people are just so strong and resilient and interesting, and it's a real hodgepodge of religions and cultural traditions. Of course, it's got a very ancient history, but like with in many countries, the violent crime tends to go on in the lower sectors of society. And the lower sectors of society in Lebanon are usually Shia and Sunni Muslims, plus the refugees. So, gender-based violence, yeah. The people that are most vulnerable, let's say, are the people who don't really understand their rights and the concepts. So, 2023, we beefed up our social media, and I went to Beirut for this event. Just before I move on, so here I've got really strong support from the police. I only thank the police. They found the driver within 24 hours. You know, they got their terrorist squad on and found him really quickly. So I have a good working relationship with the security forces. So these are two local policemen. So last May, I was there for Becky's bike ride, because actually I have written my memoir. I'm not going to release the English version till 2027 for family reasons, but I have the Arabic version was published, and I had a book launch in Beirut, and this guy in red came up to me. Can you see him at the front? I need a little poker or something. Is this one? He said, "Hey, I own Lebanon by Bike. I want to raise awareness. I've got really fantastic contacts with politicians, schools, departments of education. We're going to have a bike ride." So I said, here we are. I call the book "Beirut is More Beautiful by Bike," because Becky took a photo of his shop, okay? So I said, okay, well, what about Becky's birthday? And he said, "Oh, when's that?" And I said, "Oh, 4th of May. He said, "You know what? That's my mother's birthday. Yes, we're going to do it." And interestingly, this year, we've just had a conversation. May the 4th now is Orthodox Easter Sunday, so we can't have it on May the 4th. It's going to be the 12th of May, which is his sister's birthday. So he's just as motivated as before. Lovely man, heart of gold. This took place in central Beirut. I mean, it's like in central. It's the Corniche area. There were 400 riders. We're hoping to get over 1,000 this year. And a lot of young men, boys. But much to everyone's surprise, we've got a good turnout. Here's me. He's Lebanon by bike. This is the ambassador of the US. She just turned up with the woman who does gender equality in the embassy. And if you look carefully, I've worked it out now, these are probably her security. Here, here, here. Here's the British ambassador. Yeah, he turned up. He told me he was stiff for days afterwards. It was only about 5 kilometres and he only did about one of it, and then again his security kind of led him off into somewhere. But there he is, fantastic. He's been such a support. Here's the mayor of Beirut. This guy is a big politician. You get the idea. I mean, we've got very good support and very good publicity. Well, I was on TV, you know, so okay. So this is another shot. You get the idea. Here's me. Now, I'm standing next to the he heads the department of the environment. Okay, so, you know, high caliber politicians. There's the British ambassador again, Hamish McCowell, and then there's the mayor of Beirut. So we gave a press conference thingy. All right, then a couple of days, maybe it was the next day, I travelled up to Tripoli, and this was a distribution of Becky's buttons. So, yeah, we have a bank of about 2,000 there, but on this day, 400 were given out to women in Tripoli, which is a fascinating city, double the size of Beirut, very rough in parts. I mean, you know, like gunfire. But here are these wonderful women, so feisty, so strong, speaking so clearly and directly about what they need to improve their safety. And they talked about being at risk in taxis, even on the buses. Of course, they were on about their husbands. But they're very, very receptive and very grateful, you know, and very touching. They wanted, many of them said, "Oh, please just give me one more. You know, I want to give to my daughter, or, you know, I want to give to my mum," or, yeah. It's very meaningful. Here we are in a conference, and there's this particular lively one that we videoed afterwards, you know. At first we said, "Oh, by the way, we'll do a little video," so they'll put their masks on, you know. But after about half an hour, then they were like ripping off their masks and talking freely. And this one, yeah, she was really loud. She agreed to do a video at the end. So these are people from different strains of the Muslim religion, right? But there's that feeling, you know, women coming together with a joint dissatisfaction, let's say. They had WhatsApp. They got a group WhatsApp, you know, and they kept in touch and shared quite intimate stories. All translated, of course, for me. Anyway, move on to August, and this is last August. So we had what's called the Corniche Initiative. So this was working directly with the police, because the Corniche is, you know, the equivalent, as I say, of central here. Gorgeous harbour view, wide areas, you know, mountains, but it's dangerous. So the police wanted to improve the security. So they, through negotiation with a British organisation, we set up this stall where we had leaflets giving information about sexual harassment. So here are 2 volunteers, and there's a police lady. So these are the kind of ladies that came. You see, some of them are quite modern. Yeah, they're dressed. A great variety in Lebanon. I mean, it is the most progressive Middle Eastern country in the world. There's so many contrasts. And I think the really interesting thing for my team was to discover that a lot of men came, and they were saying, we want one for our mother, or my wife, or my sister. That gave us an idea for this year, which I'll come on to. But there we are. We distributed 200 more photos of... Oh, no, this is the marathon. So this was the final event we did last year, 12th of November. So war had been declared. I was supposed to be there, but then, whoops, the British Embassy and the Lebanese Embassy were saying, actually, Jane, it's not appropriate. We can't safeguard your safety. And more important to me, all my meetings were cancelled. I was supposed to meet a lot of people for the plans for 2024. But the Beirut Marathon went ahead, despite the political uncertainty and the danger. I mean, you had Israeli F-12s flying over, apparently, but the marathon went ahead, and the police did a great job in terms of social media and publicity. We got over 6,000 hits. So we definitely build... more and more people know about Becky's Button in Lebanon now. I think the last slide is, and I'll shut my mouth because we've only got 15 minutes. 2024. 2024, we're shifting towards men. Men are the perpetrators in a strongly patriarchal society. I think there will be interest, and having talked to stakeholders already in Lebanon, they seem to think it's a very good idea. And we're keeping it really simple. We're just saying, look, men, protect your women, don't prey on them. And if you see something going on, please don't be a bystander. Go, do something. All right? Tell your friend it's not right, or the noises in the bedroom, or whatever. Report it. So we will have a bike ride. We will have a Corniche initiative. We're actually going to organise a pop concert, because going back to the common theme here, music hits people emotionally. No words, enough words said. How often, how many times have we heard of women being in danger, right? Murdered women. What do? For many reasons, I've had enough of all the blurb and the reports and that. Let's try to touch people's hearts. So through music is one idea we have. And if I was in Lebanon now, I would be sort of thinking, call to action. And I would say things like, follow us on IG, Becky's Button, IG. And then for the men in particular, what I've just said, please look after your women. Take responsibility for them. But that's not really appropriate here in Hong Kong, right? So I think what I want to say to finish is, if you feel moved in any way about this cause, what can we do in Hong Kong? It sounds a bit counterintuitive, very counterintuitive for many, and I probably need a lot more time to explain. But the driver who killed my daughter had been out of prison for 2 weeks. He'd been in and out of prison a long time, many years. He was 29 years old when it happened. He came out angrier, poorer, more aggressive than when he went in. So one cause maybe us Hong Kongers could think about is, what can we do in our community to reduce violence, in this society? That could be one cause. What actually is going on? What's going on in Hong Kong for these in terms of rehabilitation? And that is something that interests me personally very much. Okay, so what have I got to say now? Here are some books. Any books that aren't Lion Rock, I'm going to donate to Becky's Button. Yeah, I don't want money. Money, you know, I want people to be moved somehow and do something for the cause of making women safer. So any books, yeah. And as for Under Lion Rock, I'm going to donate the proceeds to Gary and his bookshop. There are not many bookshops left in Hong Kong.
That's very kind of you.
It's really hard to do business here. Please, Gary, it's the least I can do, and thank you very much for giving me the time.
Very kind. Let's squeeze around there. Thank you very much, Jane. That's a very moving presentation today, and what we can do is take some questions,
sure,
if you like. So if you want to raise your hand if you've got a question. Okay, so thank you, Elaine. Wait a minute, I'm going to take this off.
I'm listening.
One, how old was your daughter?
30.
Okay. And secondly, you said she was murdered in December 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And you set up Becky's Bathhouse in 2018.
Yeah, so what happened?
Where did you find the strength to do that so quickly?
It's all been a bit of a struggle, frankly. But in 2018, I got a call of Becky's friend's friend, a British boy, and he said, I lost my sister to a drunk driver and my mother's gone to pieces. She's never been the same. For me, I'm a builder. I want to do something. I'm building showers on Lesbos. So I would like this centre to be, it was originally called Showers for Sisters because it was his sister and Becky. And then actually run out of money, so it's became Becky's Bathhouse. But the intent was there. What can you do? I mean, you may like to ask yourself, what can you do? I mean, what good am I? Just disappearing.
Yeah.
Somehow I have to turn such darkness to light, you know, from incredible evil to good things. And then I can be peaceful, actually, because I'm continuing my daughter's work. I mean, indirectly now, because I'm more on raising awareness about sexual violence. But that drives me and dispels the gloomier times, let's say. I just have to look at a few photos of what's happening in Greece, or even these photos. There's my daughter. Oh no, you can't see her. There, you see, this is my daughter. Yep.
Okay, so any more questions? Okay, hang on a minute. Let me just.
Concentrating your awareness in Greece and Lebanon, or in other countries as well?
I would love to do more, but this effort to make a difference, however small, has taught me many things. The world's a big place, all right? The needs are many. Even sexual violence itself is such a wide area, when you actually get down to the nitty-gritty. If someone contacted me and said, right, we're going to distribute these Becky's buttons through governments, all in Africa, yeah, of course, I'd say, great, thanks, yes, let's do it. But this experience has opened up, for me, a whole new world, really, the world of social enterprise and people who are doing charity work, who are basically serving others less fortunate. It's a very complex world, and I understand more about the restraints, let's say, that an international big NGO, given the limitations as compared to someone like me who just, you know, I wanted to go on the ground, you know, starting, but actually you need both. So yeah, if you know anyone who's got a few, you know, billion to donate.
Okay, one last question. Anyone?
Actually, why not? No, I don't need that, bro. But y'all can hear me, right? And, worldwide,
live,
okay.
yeah.
So, worldwide. Now, can you hear me? You know what? Here in Hong Kong, would you be open to like other local groups? I mean, Henrik and myself and a few others are members of our local poetry collectives like Peel Street Poetry, like Out Loud Hong Kong, and a few others. We would love to do a fundraiser or something like that, you know, to help the cause. So, would you be open to that?
That's so kind of you. As Shannon probably knows, I used to come to the Peel Society until my life, until 2018. And dear Henrik still says, he's still here with the baby, he's still sending me invitations. I write poetry. Poetry and music got me through a lot. Poetry, music, spiritual scriptures. You know, the thought that it's I need a spiritual answer to try to understand why this is happening to me. But in specific answer to your question, thank you very much. I mean, I'd like to come and read some poetry, actually. I have written poems, and I'm very happy to share my story, and I am writing. About the fundraiser, that's really kind of you. I have chosen not to set up, at this stage, not to set up any legal entity. I did in Greece. It took so much time, effort, bureaucracy, bank accounts, you know, administration, auditors. I've given up. You know, any money that I can afford, I will donate to this. But thank you. And I've got the British Embassy. All right, British Embassy, right? My daughter worked for the British government. So I'm all right. Thank you very much. But I'd like to come and read some poetry and listen to some of your poetry.
Okay, Jane, thank you very much for giving such a candid and lovely talk, and a very emotive talk, and all the best to you, and thank you for the donation of the books and things for our cause.
Pleasure.
Okay.
Pleasure.
Jane Houng, everybody.
Thank you for coming.